Every year in the United States, an estimated 24,000 kids are born with a certain degree of hearing loss. In 2007, my little cousin Brody became one of those kids. The last week in September is Deaf Awareness Week. It's basically a week that's dedicated to informing the public about deafness, but also teaching them that people who are deaf are the same as people who can hear. Um, to teach to inform you guys about being deaf, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Brody and his journey in deafness. There are many different types and forms of hearing loss, and one of the rarest types is auditory neuropathy. Um, with this disease, the people who are affected can sometimes hear, but they have difficulty communicating back to you or understanding what is being said to them. Brody was diagnosed with this disease when he was just a year and a half old. They're not sure what causes it. They think it could be damage to the nerves in your inner ear or damage to your cochlear nerve. Um, but they do know that there are certain risk factors that can contribute to the disease. And in Brody's case, it was his premature birth. He was born 3 months early, and due to that, he had a high bilirubin, jaundice, an enlarged spleen, and many other health complications that doctors think led to his hearing loss. Um, because this disease is so rare, there's a lot of controversy over how to treat it. Some think that you should put the kid in speech therapy and they should learn how to speak, while others think that teaching them sign language to communicate is the better option. But because this disease affects everyone differently, there is no one right cure. Brody is in a combination of the two. Um, he's been in speech therapy since he was diagnosed, and he's also been learning sign language. Brody currently attends Arkansas School for the Deaf, and he's been going there since he was 3. He's now 5. Um, this past year, we were faced with the decision on whether to keep Brody at ASD or to send him to a regular school. Um, we ultimately decided that keeping Brody at ASD would be better for him. At a regular school, he would have to communicate through an interpreter because Brody speaks mostly through sign language. There are a few words that he knows and that he can say, but most of his communication is through sign language. And we felt that he wouldn't get that one-on-one connection if he was communicating to other kids through an interpreter. And at ASD, speaking in sign language is seen as normal, while in a regular school setting, it's seen as different. And that's where the discrimination kind of sets in. With kids, they just have a natural curiosity. They want to ask questions and they want to know why you're talking with your hands instead of talking with your mouth. Or they want to know why the other kids have weird things on their ears or a device attached to their head. But with adults, it's a different story. I've heard of people being denied jobs because they were deaf, or they've been treated not equally. People think that if you're deaf, you're not as smart as people who can hear, which is a total misconception. Because of Brody, I've been involved in the deaf community a lot, and I've met people that are just as capable as you and I. The discrimination against people who are deaf is surprisingly common. I wasn't really aware of it until we had Brody. It I never would have thought that just because someone can't hear that they're discriminated against. They're just as capable as you and I. Brody is too young. He doesn't realize the type of prejudice or discrimination he'll face in his future, but I'm hoping that by the time he gets old enough to realize it, it's a thing of the past. Every day, people who are deaf are discriminated against because they can't hear as well as we can. I'm hoping that this video will make a difference. Maybe if you guys see not only someone who is deaf, but someone who also has special needs being discriminated against, maybe you guys will step up next time. Or if you've never seen it happen before, maybe when you do, you'll do something about it. That's also the mission of Deaf Awareness Week. We want the public to realize that just because you're different doesn't mean you're not as capable as people who can hear. This is a mission that I take personally because of Brody, and I hope you guys will now too.